This is Music, and this is, finally, another episode of Maid of Steel. Welcome to another episode of Maid of Steel, a series of videos where I go through my collection of Band-Maid releases, physical and digital, and I just talk about them, so these are still not reaction videos. In this video, we're going to have a look at Unleash, an EP that was released in 2022 by Band-Maid, obviously. And as you can see, I managed to get my dirty hands on a physical copy, so that is great. I don't know if there are other versions of this one out there, but the version I have came with a CD and with a DVD. Those of you who don't know this, Band-Maid are a Japanese kind of melodic modern hard rock band. And their kind of shtick is that they dress as maids, but the music is just solid melodic hard rock, and they're one of my favorite bands. Anyways, before that, I just want to recommend another awesome Japanese rock band, and that is Seikima II. I have only 2 records by Seikima II in my collection. Now, they look a lot like they were inspired by Kiss. They wear kabuki-style face paint, but that might just be because of their cultural heritage as a Japanese band. I don't know. They might not necessarily even be inspired by Kiss, but they do look a bit like Kiss. But musically, we're dealing with quality traditional 80s heavy metal in the vein of Judas Priest, except early Sabotage, Iron Maiden, that sort of stuff. And these 2 albums are fantastic in my opinion. It's just great quality 80s heavy metal. So if you are into like J-rock and J-metal, and if you're also into 80s heavy metal, I think it will make a whole lot of sense to check out Seikima II. So there you go. But let's, turn to the task at hand. Talk about Unleash by Band-Maid. As I said, the version I have came with a CD and with a DVD, and I don't know how many other versions there are out there. Let's just have a look at sort of the physical aspect of this package. Like pretty much all Japanese releases, it came with an obi strip here. You also have the booklet, obviously, with a very, very cool piece of post-apocalyptic cover artwork. You got the Band-Maid bow out there at sea. You also have the Band-Maid bow here. Leafing through it, we just get the lyrics. There are no band photos or anything like that. There is a lineup, and Misa is included, so don't you guys worry about that. The CD looks like this here. Pretty cool, kind of like blue. And the DVD has the same design. It's just yellow here. So they've gone with a blue and yellow kind of Swedish, I guess, color scheme. And here you have a hype sticker as well. So it's a pretty neat sort of just physical package, I think, but without too many bells and whistles, and that's fine, I think. But the important thing is the music. So what kind of music are we dealing with? Now, it's unmistakably Band-Maid. And they kind of explore pretty much the entire Band-Maid style continuum. So the poppy stuff, the melodic stuff, and the heavier stuff. They don't go all the way out to the heaviest end of their style continuum, and they don't go all the way out to the poppy end, but they do kind of stretch quite a bit over the style continuum. So there's a bit of variation, which I appreciate. So it starts out with an instrumental called From Now On. It's a melodic instrumental, but it's also kind of heavy. There's some brilliant lead guitar melodies in this song, which I appreciate, obviously. It's also kind of groovy, and that's another kind of staple feature of the Band-Maid's sound. They do have a lot of groove to their music, which again I appreciate. It is mostly guitar-centric, but it's not self-indulgent or wanky or anything like that. And that's one thing I really appreciate about Band-Maid. They're not an ego band, and I really appreciate that. Anything they do that in the service of the song, and I think that's great. That's very admirable. There is a nice bass-centric kind of chill breakdown as well that creates an interesting dynamic. And it's a very well-composed song overall. And I've heard a bunch of people say that this is the best instrumental by Band-Maid. I'm still on team Without Holding Back, but I certainly can see why people love this instrumental, because I think it's a quality song. It's really, really cool. It's followed by a song called Balance, and that's another heavier kind of song. It's also almost kind of a sneaky song. Part of the chord progression has an almost hit the road jack vibe to it. There's some very cool riff stuff going on in it for sure. And one thing that's interesting is it's called Balance, but in the verses there's kind of like a sense of chaos and almost like a vibe of, the song could fall apart at the seams anytime. And that's very interesting given that they called the song Balance. I think that's kind of, very witty. Anyways, there's a very, very cool vocal melody in the chorus. It's not as big and catchy as your typical Band-Maid chorus, I would say, but it's still, memorable and catchy. So it's a pretty cool song. I enjoy it, and I like how it's just on the verge of just complete chaos and falling apart. I like that. It's followed by the title track, Unleash, which a lot of people know because they also released a music video, which is a pretty cool music video. This is another kind of hard rocking and slightly heavy song. There's some very, very cool riffage in it as well. Some of it kind of borders on groove metal. We're not all the way into, Machine Head, Pantera, tribal metal era, Sepultura territory. We're not all the way out there, but it is groovy and it is a bit in that direction, I think. But, I like me some groove, so I'm fine with that. There's some awesome vocal lines in the chorus, and some very, very interesting kind of lead guitar work. This is another song where the sort of lead guitar, not necessarily the solo part, but the lead guitar melodies have a kind of a sense of panic to them. And one thing that's interesting is that, and I don't know if this is intended, but there's a kind of like a sound effect on the guitar that kind of reminds me of an old Nintendo game from the late 80s or something. But it's a fantastic hard rock song in my opinion. I understand why a lot of people like Unleash. I'm part of that gang or whatever, you know what I mean. It's followed by Sense, which is a song that they did release earlier as well, I think last year. It's still a great song. It's more uplifting, but it's still also kind of melancholic. And this one has the big Band-Maid vocal melodies, and it's a very nice song in terms of the composition. Sense, still a very enjoyable song. It's followed by a song called I'll, the contracted form of I Will. That's another kind of heavy and groovy song. Has cool vocals, has some awesome drum fills by Akane. She's a great drummer. There's some very cool vocal harmonies in I'll as well, and some nice groovy riffage as well, and a nice tasty guitar solo by Kanami. So I'll, another very enjoyable song. The next song is Corallium, which they also released earlier. It's another song that's more kind of uplifting. It has a slightly funky feel to it, but it also has a very strong metal kind of leaning to it. And there are lots of nice little guitar details to this song. It's quite energetic, and it has some nice catchy vocal melodies. Corallium is also still a very enjoyable song. The next song is another song they made a music video for. It's called Influencer. This is another song that a lot of people have praised a lot, and I fully understand that as well. It's more funky to my ears. It has some cool little guitar details as well. That's also a staple kind of feature of the Band-Maid style, that Kanami does lots of small, cool little guitar things. And there's certainly those in this song as well. Now, one thing that's very interesting is that in the opening, on the beginning of Influencer, there's some vocal melodies and harmonies, and I don't know if this is intentional or what it is, but some vocal melodies and harmonies that remind me a little bit of Maximum the Hormone, another awesome Japanese kind of metal punk band. And it reminds me a bit of some vocal harmonies that Maximum the Hormone, I think it's in the song that's also called Maximum the Hormone. It's not like ripping them off or anything like that, but maybe just in that vein. But I don't have a problem with that, because I love Maximum the Hormone, and so there you go. Not a problem, it's just an observation I made. There's some really cool drumming in this song as well, and some of it has kind of a, almost like a, I don't know, samba kind of feel to it, which I think is very cool. And there's a very cool bass solo in Influencer as well. So yeah, Influencer, I think it's a cool hard rock song. I enjoy that song as well. And it's followed by the last song called Hate ? It should probably be Hate 500 exclamation marks, because they keep singing I hate you, I hate you, I hate you towards the end, and they even drop an S bomb. I think they say I don't give a shit at some point in the song. So there's a bit of attitude to that song. It's another heavy song. It's another groovy song. There's some really cool riffage in that as well. Some more amazing drumming. There's another cool, tasty guitar solo as usual. So it's a great song to close off this EP or mini album on. So yeah, great stuff. Now, the version I had, as I said, came with a DVD. The DVD has 4 music videos on it. It has the Unleash music video that a lot of people have already seen. A very, very cool sort of anime themed music video. Most of it is anime styled animation stuff. But at some point they switch to live action, and then later on they switch back to anime, and I think that's a very cool kind of choice there. They in the live action part, it's actually very dark and very brooding and kind of almost like has a doomsday apocalyptic feel to it. So that's interesting too. And in contrast, the anime part, very colorful, lots of action, of course. But yeah, it's a very cool music video for a cool song. And then there's a music video for From Now On, which is interesting that they made a music video for the instrumental. It's another kind of dark music video, but it kind of fits the song very well. So that's another sort of visually interesting part. And then they have 2 white background instrumental music videos where they do like instrumental versions of songs that, where the sort of main version actually has vocals. And they've done a lot of these, like just on a white background, and then they have the instrumentalists playing their instruments and doing their thing. And I really enjoyed these white background instrumental sort of music videos. It's interesting to hear the songs without vocals. And I think in particular Unleash, although it's the same song, it sounds completely different without vocals. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big fan of Saiki. I love her singing style. But it's just interesting to hear the songs, without vocals. So that's the DVD. Pretty, 4 cool music videos. I mean, 2 of them are genuine music videos, and then you have the white background ones. Great stuff. I've watched this DVD a bunch of times already. So overall, they kind of carry on or continue the approach, the heavier, more metallic approach of Unseen World, but they don't go into black hole territory. They don't get that heavy, but they are more towards the heavy end than towards the more poppy end that they explored on Conquer. So yeah, the guitar tone is quite heavy, and the bass tone is quite heavy too. And in a lot of the songs, the bass is even distorted. There's this kind of frantic, chaos-like character to a lot of the lead guitar work, but a lot of it is also very tasty and melodic. Saiki, as usual, sounds great on this mini album. There's some great bass parts on it. Very tasty bass playing as well, and just fantastic double bass drum work by Akane. So great stuff. There's not that much focus on the big vocal melodies in the choruses. They're still there. They're still catchy. They're still big, but not as big as your sort of typical Band-Maid chorus. But that's fine. It's still there, just not as big. You know what I mean? So to me, this is a great EP, very enjoyable. No song on here that I don't like, but there's no song on any Band-Maid release that I don't like. But this is a very, very strong release. I think it's undeniably, it's Band-Maid. They're just not that big on the very catchy stuff, they're not super heavy. But like I said, they're more towards the heavy end of the Band-Maid style continuum. But you do have your, more poppy elements. You do have your melodic elements. You do have your tasty guitar solos and all that stuff. So yeah, I really enjoy listening to this. It's nice to have, a release by Band-Maid. One more to listen to, so that's great. If you've never heard Band-Maid before, I don't know if this is the best sort of gateway into Band-Maid. Maybe it is, because, as I said, it's undeniably Band-Maid, but they do have a lot of the quirks and the things that might be a bit like the frantic feel of some of the guitar stuff, or the chaotic feel of Balance. So it might be off-putting to some people, but it might be attractive to other people. So I don't know if this is the best gateway into Band-Maid. That would probably be some of their earlier stuff, like Brand New Maid or New Beginning or something like that. But yeah, I really enjoy this. Great stuff. Happy to have it. Nice to see some, it's not a full length, but it has 8 tracks on it. To see a longer release by Band-Maid. So there you go. Really enjoy Unleash. Maybe you do too. Who knows? Thanks for watching.